So your home is a mess. So what? Outer clutter is a sign of inner genius, right? That's how the saying goes, isn't it? Well, maybe. But there's a good chance that visual disorganization is having a few negative effects on you, especially if you have ADHD. And before you think that I'm trying to shame you or act like I've got this all together, let me just say that I'm still working on this too. I've improved a lot, but I still have a long ways to go. So I'm telling you this stuff from down here in the trenches with you. I'm going to be giving you solutions that I've only just barely begun to implement myself. I'm still clawing my way out of this cluttered hole I've dug myself into. But I'm going to tell you a few words that I never thought I would hear escape from my lips. I am very slowly actually beginning to kind of enjoy getting organized. If my mother is listening to this podcast, well then, hi Mom. Hell has indeed frozen over. For everyone else who did not give birth to me, hello to you as well. This is Julie from Julie Saad Wellness. I'm a certified health coach who helps women with ADHD, and I'm a recovering messy person. Today we're going to talk about why messy spaces can be bad for us, ways to deal with the shame, and some solutions to help you, including some things you can do today to get a quick win. So, breathe. We can do this. First of all, let's talk about why clutter is bad for us. First off, what's the big deal with being a bit messy? I mean, we're all adults, right? We can do what we want. Well, not so fast. For one thing, the mess leads to stress, like literally inside your body. In fact, one study showed that women who saw their homes as cluttered had high levels of the stress hormone cortisol throughout the day. Yikes. In another study that I came across, the researchers looked at the effects of visual clutter by placing the participants in one of two environments, a very cluttered one and a more organized one, and found that the folks in the high clutter environment reported, quote, lower cognitive capacity levels, end quote. In a nutshell, their brains just didn't seem to work as well in the messier place. Also, yikes. And here's another study I came across. Would you believe that it's harder to understand other people's feelings when you're in a cluttered place? This study found just that. They used scenes from movies to test their subjects and found that when the background of a scene is really cluttered, the people watching it have a harder time interpreting the characters' facial expressions. So if this is true in real life as well, it means that if you're in a clutter-filled room, you might have more trouble figuring out how the people in that room with you are feeling. Can I get a yikes? According to Dana Rayburn, a brilliant ADHD coach who helps her clients get organized, clutter is not only distracting, especially if you're easily distractible, it's depressing. Each time you see that messy desk or that chair that's no longer sit-inable, it gives you that ugh feeling. And we've already got enough of that going on, haven't we? Also, it might be embarrassing to have someone over to your house. Oh, Lord, has this happened to me, especially in the past when I was at peak messiness. I would either just not invite anyone over, or I would spend hours cleaning beforehand just to get my home to a level I wasn't ashamed of. And by the time the guest got there, I was so frazzled, I almost didn't want to hang out with them anymore. Kind of like, oh, hey, so nice to see you. Oh, you brought hummus? Wow. How long did that take to make? Like 3 minutes? I washed this floor with my tears and the tears of my mother and her mother before her. You will never understand my suffering, and your pithy offerings of pureed garbanzos does not appease the gods of chaos who circle above us, waiting to swoop in and destroy everything at any moment. Oh, what's that? Oh, no, you don't have to take your shoes off. It's a very casual kind of place. Come on in. Dysfunction, y'all. All right, so those are a few of the reasons why having a disorganized living space is not ideal. But let's talk about cleaning out the shame and throwing it in the garbage where it belongs. So, In addition to having clutter or other forms of disorganization, we might also be beating ourselves up about it to boot. You know what I'm talking about. That voice in your head that scolds you, calls you messy, lazy, hopeless, whatever. Ugh, fuck that voice. Am I right? Some crappy advice that I could give you would be to stop feeling ashamed about your clutter. Oh, wow, just stop the feeling? Gee, thanks, I'm cured. Yeah. You already know changing your thoughts isn't that simple, especially if you've been thinking similar ones for most of your life, but it's not impossible. Let's examine these thoughts and feelings to see if we can chip away at them a bit, shall we? I'll use myself as an example. Bear in mind, I'm still a work in progress on this getting organized front, y'all. I was told, and also told myself my entire life, that I am a messy person. So I constantly had the thought, I'm so messy, knocking around in my head. There are some problems that thought causes, aren't there? First of all, I'm making it about me. It's a judgment on my character. But at the end of the day, chastising myself for a perceived character flaw creates somewhat of a mountain to climb, doesn't it? If the problem is me, then the solution is to fix me. And okay, I'm all about self-improvement, but at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, maybe I don't really want to deal with a character overhaul. I just want to not trip over shit that I left on the floor. So instead of thinking this judgmental thought about myself, maybe it would be better to be a little more objective. And by that, I mean looking around my environment for an actual mess. Compare the difference in these two thoughts. 1, I'm so messy. 2, my desk is so messy. You're smart. Where am I going with this? If I tell myself I'm so messy, well, where do I even begin to fix that problem if the problem is little old me? Meanwhile, if I tell myself my desk is so messy, well, okay, where do I begin to fix that problem? Probably somewhere in the vicinity of my desk. So yeah, negative thoughts about ourselves take a bit of practice to eliminate. But there's a little trick you can try if you find yourself thinking something shitty about yourself. Try to avoid this catastrophic all or nothing, I'm so messy kind of thinking. Replace it with something else, specific and fixable, preferably. Stop making the problem be you all the time. You're awesome. And I know that for a fucking fact because only awesome people listen to this podcast. So you have the fucking evidence, okay? Here's another thought trick. I'm going to give you several. It's a thought buffet, darling. Take what you like and leave the rest. Please compare these two thoughts. 1, I have to organize this apartment. 2, I want to organize this apartment. I only changed one word. What do you think would happen if you said to yourself, I want to organize this apartment instead of I have to organize this apartment? It gives it a bit of a different feeling, doesn't it? Try it right now. Do it. What's something you feel like you have to do? Try saying it like, I wanna. How did that go? Now, I'll bet you at least one person listening to this podcast thought, but I don't want to organize this place or any place. I don't want to organize stuff. Okay, fine. Think of another thought instead, like, I want to have an organized home or something like that. Just try it. If you think it sounds really hippy-dippy to try to think your way into a decluttered desk or what have you, I understand. All I have to say to you is try it as an experiment. See what happens when instead of going, I have to clean off the kitchen table. I can't even see what color it is anymore. You go, I would really like to straighten up the kitchen table and put away a few things that don't belong there anymore so I can see how beautiful it is. Or something to that effect. It might make it just that little bit easier. Another tip from Dana Rayburn is instead of being ashamed, be curious. Think about what that might mean. Instead of opening a cabinet in your bathroom and saying, I am the queen of the slobs. I deserve a crown made of rotten banana peels and cigarette butts. Not the most helpful thought. You could try saying to yourself, I wonder how my bathroom cabinet got so disorganized. So going from shaming yourself to just being a little curious. Just try it just to see what happens. If you're in a space that's cluttered right now, I invite you to try it right now. I'll do it too. Like, for example, okay, looking at the little table next to my sofa, my first instinct is to think, why is all that random stuff on there? Oh my God, what's wrong with me? But let's replace that little shit of a thought with some curiosity, shall we? Like, I wonder why I put my glasses there instead of, well, actually, I don't have a set place where I always put my glasses when I'm not wearing them. I wonder where my glasses could live when they're not on my nose. And actually, I just kind of blew my own mind with my little example exercise. I don't have a place to put my glasses when I'm not wearing them, and I would say my glasses are definitely the thing I misplace the most and spend the most time looking for. Of course they are. They don't have a set place where they should go. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it's so obvious, but how many years have I been misplacing my glasses for without realizing it? Thanks for listening, guys. It's been very helpful talking to you about this. Anyway, where should they live? Where should I... Oh, the power just went out and came back on. Let's try that again. Where should they live? Where should I put my glasses? I'm going to declare a home for them right now and see if I can put them there whenever I take them off. It's going to be on my bookshelf. There's a little empty space there. If you're into affirmations, you could even try coming up with a few to help you get into a headspace that's more conducive to tidying up. For example, I easily organize my living space. I'm motivated to organize a little each day. Keeping my desk clean is kind of fun. Okay, you're probably not supposed to say kind of in your affirmations, but hey, I'm trying to keep it real over here. One other little mindset-related tip is to think about how it feels to be in an organized, visually relaxing space. If you can, take a second to close your eyes and think back to a time when you were in a clutter-free space, like maybe a hotel room just after you checked in. How do you feel? Does your breathing change or anything like that? Next time you need a bit of motivation, you can try thinking about a beautiful, well-organized place where your eyes just seem to relax and your shoulders just seem to melt away from your neck. Try using that thought and that feeling to encourage you to tidy up for a bit. Who says we have to have the feeling of accomplishment afterwards? Fuck it. Let's have the feeling before. All right, so you get the point. No, you cannot magically think cleanliness and order into existence. If you could, you would be a witch and wouldn't need to listen to self-improvement stuff for mere mortals. But being in the right frame of mind should make it easier. So try to be conscious of your attitude and, if necessary, clean it up a bit, yeah? See what I did there? Clean up your attitude. But I'll be here all week. Anyway, not funny joke. I don't care. I tried, okay? I tried. I'm trying to bring levity to this because this is a serious thing that makes us feel like absolute shit if it's a problem that we have, which I know it has been a problem that I've had pretty much forever. So, solutions. So how about a few solutions to help you get more organized? I've got a bunch for you. As always, if you have ADHD, managing your ADHD itself will help make it easier for you to get going on Project Organize. So whatever that means to you, whether that's ADHD-specific nutrition, exercise, sunlight, sleep, stress reduction, remembering to socialize now and then, working with an ADHD coach, or taking medication if that helps you. Fixing the foundation always helps the house look nicer, even if it's messy. I don't know. I was trying to do a funny metaphor, but it wasn't funny. Twice now. That's two jokes that have fallen flat. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm an ADHD coach. I'm not a comedian. I can't be everything in the world. Anyway, you get the point. Take care of yourself, yo. That's the point. So, sometimes We don't get organized because, well, we just haven't set aside the time for it. So now's a good time to think about when you might want to schedule some time to organize. Do you want to have a weekly appointment on your calendar, for example? You could also try tacking on a few minutes of organizing time to something that you already do daily. Putting things back where they belong for a few minutes after dinner or as part of your morning routine. Get creative and see if you can come up with a cue for yourself to make it an easy to adopt ritual. So, there are two separate ideas here. One is to have a longer cleanup or organizing session once a week or something like that. And one is to have these little moments of organizing that are built into the day. One is a bigger project and one is more about forming a habit. So we need different skill sets for each. Just something to think about. Now that said, sometimes even with the best laid plans, Mr. Brain just doesn't want to do the fucking thing. I know you can relate. Often, especially if we have a lot of organizing to do, just getting started on it can seem impossible. There are some things you can try. I don't know which one or ones will work for you. You've just got to give it a shot and see for yourself. I'm not going to BS you and tell you I have the magic formula. Just some ideas. All right, for example, if it feels like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start, then take a moment to create a mini plan. Mini plan. By this, I mean, figure out the first 1 or 2 steps, not all the steps. Please, don't do all the steps if you're already overwhelmed. Trust me, it'll just make you feel barfy and you'll be dicking around on social media or whatever your dopamine du jour is in no time to avoid said barfy feeling. Mini plan, y'all. So if you have lots of things on the floor, for example, maybe step 1 in mini plan could be picking up all the shoes or all the books or all the purple things. All the purple things, what? Yeah, why not? Why not make it into a game? Who says everything has to be so fucking serious all the fucking time? Pick up the purple things. If there are none, congratulate yourself. Why? Why the fuck not? For real, this shit is really hard for some of us. We have to be nice to ourselves. The shame shit is really just getting quite old. Enough. Those days are over. I want those days to be over for you. And for me. And for me too. Really. If we're being honest, and for me too. Working on it. We're working on it. Additionally, if it feels like, oh my God, this is going to take forever, I just don't even want to do it, and that is preventing you from starting, try setting a timer for a few minutes or putting on a song. The goal is to organize until the timer goes off or the song is done. If you want to keep going afterwards, so be it. If not, okay, fine. The idea is just to trick yourself into starting. Trick myself? Yes. Your mind is playing tricks on you to prevent you from starting, so sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. Sorry, Mr. Brain. 2 can play that game. All right, if you're able to start but are having trouble staying on track and you want to devote a decent chunk of time to it, you can try body doubling. Body doubling is when you have someone else there in the room with you. You can ask a friend to come over, or you can even look for an online body doubling buddy. For many of us, just having another human there, whether in person or virtually, helps keep us on task. Don't ask me why, because I haven't done the research on it yet, but it somehow helps. The trick that I use the most for times when I need to spend more than a few minutes getting organized is doing something fun at the same time. I put on a movie or a TV show or a podcast on my phone and use headphones so that I can walk from one room to another without missing anything. I try not to put anything too engrossing on because then I'll just want to sit down and not do anything but watch it. But for example, stand-up comedy in my case, I find works really well because you don't usually have to actually look at the screen that much. Sometimes I'll put something on that I've already seen and that works too. I also listen to a lot of audiobooks this way. It just makes it a little bit more fun and sometimes that's all you need. Another idea, if you can afford it, you might want to think about paying someone to help you with cleaning or organizing, even if it's just a one-time thing. Many people feel embarrassed by letting someone into their homes to see their mess, but here's something that might help with that. I was reading a discussion board about this online once, and on the board were several people who had worked as professional housekeepers. So they were real people that had cleaned real houses. Surprisingly, many of them said it was actually very rewarding to come to someone's house who really needed the help. They felt like they really accomplished something by being there. Whereas when they went to the houses that were already pretty clean, they kind of felt like, well, what do you need me for? So if you're worried about being judged, that's something to keep in mind. The person helping you might actually be quite happy to see your disorder. So, hey, no shame. All right, I know a lot of this might feel overwhelming, especially if it just seems like there's so much to do. I want you to have that feeling ASAP. So here are a couple of ways you might be able to get a quick win. For starters, tidy up one small area, whether that's your desk, your kitchen table, your bathroom countertop. Just having that one victory to start can help motivate you to continue. I bet you could do one of these areas in less than 15 minutes. What do you think? If that's too much, try just putting away 5 things that aren't where they belong. Or just one thing. Then congratulate yourself, even if it was just one thing. Yeah, even if you put away one thing, I want you to say, good job, for real. For real, do it. Another idea is to do the wrong thing first. What? Listen, sometimes we can be a bit perfectionistic with ourselves, and this can slow us down, prevent us from finishing, or keep us from starting altogether. I actually use this trick for all sorts of things. First of all, any progress is progress. Second, sometimes taking the scenic route is the fastest way to get somewhere. If you don't know what the right first step is when organizing, or you're feeling some kind of resistance, do the wrong first step. Just see what happens. For example, yesterday my desk had gotten disorganized, and I knew I would feel better if I organized it, but I just didn't fucking want to. Like, I simply did not want to organize the thing, even though it wasn't that messy. There was some kind of feeling there that I didn't want to feel. Ugh. I think it's because there's a box on there that I need to keep for a little while longer before recycling. But I don't have a place for the box yet, so it's still on my desk, and therefore my desk will not be perfect for the moment, and that's cramping my style big time. So anyways, I decided to trick myself by starting with a different but related task. I went to my jewelry box and organized it. It wasn't a big priority, and in fact was already pretty organized. I went there, put a couple of things into place, and then somehow, miraculously, was able to mosey on over to my desk and tidy it up, which took all of 90 seconds once I'd started. Now, why do you think this trick worked for me? I have a few theories. One, it was easier to go start with the jewelry because I knew it wasn't going to be too hard, so success was very much within reach. Also, since it wasn't really a priority, there was, by nature, none of that crappy self-talk that I mentioned that we ought to get rid of. There was no, I should, I have to, I need to, but just, hey, how about a little jewelry organizing? Sure, why not? So the task initiation itself was easier for me since there wasn't that much negative emotion associated with it to begin with. Also, I finished the jewelry organizing so quickly and gave myself a mental gold star for having done it. Yay! So I felt good, and that helped. Lastly, I was then in organizing mode just from doing that tiny task. So I didn't have to do any kind of task switching, or context switching to go from a different kind of task to organizing. Just needed to move to another part of the house. So notice how trying to go from on the couch to cleaning the desk didn't work for me, but couch to jewelry box to desk did. To think about it another way, I couldn't go from couch to desk yesterday because, at least this is my theory, that would have involved task initiation plus dealing with a crappy emotion plus not really having a sense of satisfaction because of that dumb box that's still there. Yet I was able to go from couch to jewelry box because in that case, I only had to deal with task initiation first, was able to get my sense of satisfaction before going to the desk, and therefore the crappy emotion of not being able to clean my desk 100% didn't feel quite so crappy because I was already happy about my little jewelry organizing victory. I have no idea if something similar would work for you, but I would be thrilled to hear about it if you try an experiment like this. Try taking the wrong first step and see what happens. You might just surprise yourself. Now, that last suggestion is admittedly pretty wackadoodle, to do the wrong thing first. I mean, who is going to tell you that? I'd be surprised if you found anything like that in conventional tips for getting organized. So that brings up an important point, which is that some of the advice out there that's aimed more at people that don't have ADHD might not be the best fit for us. For example, I read Marie Kondo's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up several years ago, and I really liked it. And I do think it was a very, very, very helpful book for me. However, it has some tips that might not work for everyone or might not work for certain people on certain days. Like, for example, it tells you to put all your clothes on your bed when you're trying to organize your clothes and then start organizing them from there. So take everything out of the closet and throw it on your bed. I was able to do this as soon as I read it in the book because I had an entire free day, and at the time I didn't really have that much clothing because I had just moved to a new country only a year before. But I know full well that if I'd been really stressed or tired or had had a lot more stuff, or if someone had interrupted me with something pressing that day, those clothes might very well have stayed on my bed for weeks and become my new fashionable sleeping nest. Gross. So be careful with the organizing tips and tricks you hear, especially if they're not given with the ADHD brain in mind. And give some thought as to whether you think they'll work for you or not. And if they don't stress about it. It just wasn't the right method for you. No big deal. You can try something else. Okay, so let's summarize the main points we went over today. Disorganization can take a toll on you. You can replace the shame you feel around disorganization with something else. Calendarizing a longer cleanup session can help. Ritualizing a quick cleanup session can also help. A mini plan can help you get started. Telling yourself just a few minutes can also help you get started. Body doubling may help. Doing something fun at the same time may also help. You can pay someone to help you if possible. Look for small, achievable victories. Try doing the wrong thing first. And make sure you congratulate yourself, like a lot. So there you have it. I'd love to hear from you. Which of these ideas would you like to try? Leave a comment or send me an email. If you know anyone who could benefit from this information, please share it with them. Subscribe to this podcast for more. Also, my ADHD-specific coaching program, Focused, Fit, Fun, is now open. It's pretty cool because we work together on all the things, starting with getting your foundation in order and then moving on to create new habits and a life that you're happy to live. It's basically health coaching and ADHD coaching combined, so it's holistic, synergistic, and pretty fucking cool. I'll put a link in the description for how to get in touch with me about it for more info. Thanks so much for listening and have a happy and healthy day.